Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into something really foundational for anyone working with data at scale. The Databricks Lakehouse layers. Bronze, silver, and gold. Our goal here is pretty straightforward. Cut through the jargon around modern data architecture, specifically this layered approach for real-time processing. We want to give you those aha moments,
hmm
how raw data actually becomes something you can make decisions on.
Absolutely. And it's crucial because this isn't just about neat organization. This architecture gives you a really clear, scalable, and importantly governed way to handle data. The benefits, well, they're pretty significant. It makes debugging way easier, for one.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, you separate concerns for different teams. It supports proper CI/CD, which is huge these days, and it elegantly handles both streaming and batch data together. Ultimately, you get reliable, production-ready data products out the door faster and, with more confidence. We've seen folks cut debugging time dramatically just by knowing which layer to look at. That's real value.
Okay, let's unpack this bronze, silver, and gold thing. It does sound a bit like you're handing out medals to your data, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the main job of each layer? What's happening to the data at each stage?
Happy to. And the metal analogy isn't too far off, actually. Think of it like refining ore. So bronze. This is your raw ingestion point. Its job is purely to capture everything coming in. Think raw JSON from a payment system, logs, whatever it is, exactly as it arrives.
No filtering, no cleaning.
None. The whole point is preservation. Original structure, metadata, everything. It's your immutable audit trail, your safety net. This raw data then feeds into the next layer, silver.
Okay, raw and complete in bronze. What happens in silver?
Silver is where the, let's call it, refinement begins. Cleaning, formatting, maybe some basic enrichment. You're taking that potentially messy raw data and transforming it into clean, structured tables. Think consistent data types, maybe handling nulls, applying some basic rules. It gets a consistent schema.
So it's becoming more organized, more reliable for analysis.
Exactly. It's preparing the data for serious downstream use like analytics or ML training. This clean, structured data then flows into the gold layer.
All right, bronze is raw, silver is cleaned and structured. What's the gold layer for? The final prize.
Pretty much. Gold is where it becomes truly business ready, often involving ML scoring or complex business logic. The goal here is actionable insights, applying trained models, like for fraud detection, tagging risks, aggregating key KPIs for dashboards, preparing data specifically for BI tools.
Ah, so this is what directly feeds those dashboards or alerts everyone uses.
Precisely. Power BI, Looker, Tableau, custom apps, alerting systems, even external APIs might consume data directly from the gold layer. It's the highly polished, highly trusted output.
That flow makes a lot of sense. Bronze, the raw archive, silver, the structured foundation, gold, the actionable insight. But who actually does the work at each stage? Who are the main people interacting with these layers?
Great question. The who is key. For the bronze layer, you're typically looking at data engineers. Their world is about reliable ingestion, landing the raw data, monitoring those pipelines, making sure that audit trail is solid.
So keeping the lights on for data entry.
Essentially, yes. Ensuring health, preventing data loss, handling any reprocessing as source data changes or there are issues. They'll be looking at things like autoloader logs, delta table history, that sort of thing.
Okay, data engineers handle the raw intake. Who takes over for silver?
That's usually where analytics engineers, data scientists, and ML teams step in. The silver layer is their domain. They're the ones building features for models, writing the cleaning logic, preparing data sets for training or complex analysis.
So more transformation focused.
Definitely. Validating quality, feature engineering, maybe joining with dimension tables to add business context. They're often working in notebooks or using tools like Delta Live Tables, focusing on the data structure and content.
And then gold. Who consumes that final polished product?
The gold layer consumers are typically BI analysts, maybe fraud investigators in that specific example, data scientists deploying models, and essentially anyone looking at dashboards or needing final business metrics.
The end users,
With
basically.
end users of the data product, yeah. They're interpreting scores, monitoring KPIs, making decisions, triggering actions based on that highly curated gold data. Their tools are the BI platforms, Power BI, Tableau, Looker, or custom applications built on top.
Okay, that maps the roles nicely. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for folks actually building these systems. What specific tools are we talking about at each layer? What makes the magic happen?
Right, the tools are critical enablers. For Bronze, as we touched on, it's often autoloader or maybe direct Kafka streaming ingestion. Their purpose is efficient, incremental ingestion. Autoloader is brilliant for cloud storage, S3, ADLS, GCS. It just watches for new files. Kafka is for those real-time event streams.
Is there a specific code pattern for autoloader?
Yeah, you'll often see something like spark.readstream.format, cloud files. That cloud files format is the key bit for file-based streaming. It handles file discovery and state management, so you only process new data. Super efficient.
Got it. What about Silver, where the transformations get more complex?
For Silver, Delta Live Tables, or DLT, is often the go-to tool these days. DLT is fantastic because it lets you define your pipelines declaratively. You focus on the transformation logic, and it handles the orchestration, data quality checks, schema evolution, dependencies, all that complex stuff.
So it simplifies building those cleaning pipelines.
Massively. You'll use decorators like at dlt.table to define a table and functions like dlt.readstream, payment bronze, to pull data from the previous layer and apply your cleaning logic like casting data types. It manages the underlying Spark execution for you.
Okay, DLT for Silver and for Gold, especially with the ML scoring aspect.
For Gold, you often see DLT paired with MLflow. This combination lets you integrate trained machine learning models directly into your data pipelines. So as data flows into Gold, you can apply an ML model, say a fraud model, in real time.
How does that integration work technically?
MLflow allows you to package your model as a user-defined function, often called a modeliv. You can then just call this UDF within your DLT SQL or Python code like any other function. It makes scoring data incredibly seamless within the pipeline itself, bringing the model to the data.
That's pretty slick, integrating ML so directly. Okay, this layering and tooling obviously impacts data quality. How does that quality actually evolve as data moves from Bronze to Silver to Gold? Does it just get better?
Better is one way to put it, or maybe more trusted and fit for purpose. It definitely evolves. In the Bronze layer, quality in terms of validation is basically none. It's schema on read. You land everything, warts and all.
Because the goal is just capture, right?
Exactly. It's the raw, unfiltered truth as it arrived. An audit trail. No transformations, no filtering. Think of it as your raw evidence locker.
Okay, then Silver must be where quality checks start.
Correct. In the Silver layer, quality improves to, let's say, medium. This is where you actively clean and structure the data. You'll do explicit typecasting, like colAmount.castDouble. You'll handle nulls, maybe using dropna. You'll deduplicate records. And crucially, you can enforce quality rules.
Like using DLT expectations.
Precisely. You can add rules like at dlt.expect, valid amount, amount 0. If a record fails that rule, DLT can quarantine it or stop the pipeline, ensuring only valid data moves forward. It's about standardization and validation.
So Silver is clean, validated, structured. What makes Gold high quality?
Gold layer quality is high because it's not only clean and validated, but it's often enriched with sophisticated business logic or ML scores, and it's certified for consumption. You have outputs like a fraud score from your model, maybe an isFraud flag based on a threshold, like qual fraud score at 0.7.cast.init. The data here is explicitly trusted for driving decisions and reports. It's the final, polished, BI-ready output.
This progression makes sense. Let's connect this to speed. In today's world, everyone wants insights faster. What are the typical latency targets for each layer? How quickly are we trying to move data through?
Latency. Always a key consideration. It varies by layer. For the Bronze layer, you're usually aiming for near real-time ingestion. Think microbatches picking up new files or Kafka events very quickly.
So getting the raw data landed ASAP.
Exactly. Minimize the delay from source to Bronze. The strategy involves tuning autoloader or Kafka consumers, maybe controlling batch size with options like max files per trigger to balance latency and efficiency.
Okay, near real-time for Bronze. What about Silver with the transformations?
For Silver, you're typically looking at low latency streaming with structure. You want to process the data quickly, but also handle potential complexities of streaming. Strategies here involve using Spark structured streaming features effectively. Watermarking with Watermark is key for handling late data in aggregations. And you control the processing frequency with triggers like trigger processing time, 1 minute.
So, still fast, but managing the stream carefully. And Gold.
Gold layer latency often needs to be low latency scoring or maybe microbatch serving, depending on the use case. The goal is to get those final scored or aggregated results out quickly to the BI tools or alerts. Strategies might involve real-time scoring within the stream or using triggers like trigger available now.
True, available now, true. What does that do?
It tells the stream to process all the data that's arrived since the last batch, process it all at once, and then stop until triggered again. It's great for scenarios where you want fast updates but don't need continuous, always-on streaming, offering a good balance for serving layers.
Right, makes sense. Now, a big one for any organization, trust. How does this whole layered approach help with data governance and ensuring the data is actually trustworthy?
Trust is woven into the fabric of this architecture. Each layer contributes differently. At the bronze layer, governance is, well, minimal but foundational. It's about raw storage, usually in Delta Lake for its transactional capabilities.
And using Unity Catalog here helps.
Absolutely. Registering bronze tables in Unity Catalog right from the start helps with discoverability, lineage tracking, and setting basic retention policies. The main purpose, though, is just preserving that raw data for audit and replay.
Okay, minimal but essential. How does governance step up in Silver?
Silver layer governance is medium. Here, you have a defined structure, you've done cleaning. The focus is on correctness and consistency. This means enforcing schemas, perhaps managing schema evolution carefully so you don't break downstream consumers. Documenting transformations in comments or table properties is also vital here, basically creating data contracts.
So people know what they're getting.
Exactly. And ensuring the data is what it claims to be through those DLT quality checks we mentioned.
And then gold must be the highest level of governance.
Yes, gold layer governance is high. This is your certified, trusted, business-ready data. It's often ML audited, meaning the scores are understood and tracked. Tables are definitely registered in Unity Catalog, enabling fine-grained access control. You might use ML Flow Registry for model versioning tied to the data it's scored. It's about providing that stamp of approval.
And access control fits in here too, right? Different people needing different permissions.
Precisely. Unity Catalog makes role-based access control, RBAC, much easier across the layers. For example, data engineers might need select, insert, update on bronze tables to manage ingestion.
But BI analysts?
BI analysts might only have select access on specific gold tables. You ensure people only see and modify the data appropriate for their role, which is crucial for security and governance.
That touches on something interesting. Does this layered approach ever become too much? Like overkill for simpler data pipelines?
That's a fair question. For, super simple, small-scale stuff, maybe ad hoc analysis on a single small file, sure, you could just load it into one table. But the moment you start thinking about production, reliability, multiple data sources, evolution over time, collaboration, the layers start paying for themselves very quickly.
How so?
It's about maintainability and scalability. Debugging is easier, testing is easier. Different teams can work on different layers without stepping on each other's toes. Even for moderately complex pipelines, separating ingestion, bronze from transformation, silver from serving gold, brings discipline and clarity that prevents headaches down the road. It's an investment that almost always pays off as things grow.
So it's a bit like building a proper foundation, even if the first version of the house is small.
That's a great analogy. You build the foundation anticipating future growth and complexity, ensuring stability, and making extensions easier later on.
What a journey we've taken then. From that raw, sometimes messy data landing in bronze,
Untouched, yeah.
through the cleaning, structuring, enriching in silver,
Getting it ready.
all the way to these actionable, often ML-enhanced, trusted insights in gold. It really highlights the structure, the improving quality, and the controlled speed at each step.
Exactly, and that's the real power. This layered approach lets organizations build serious, reliable data products confidently, whether it's just ensuring you have an audit trail or running sophisticated real-time fraud detection. That bronze layer safety net. I remember a project where a source system just completely changed format overnight. No warning.
Ouch.
Yeah, but because we had everything raw in bronze, we could just adjust our silver pipeline and reprocess. No data loss, just a reconfiguration task. Without bronze, it would have been a disaster. It truly enables resilience.
So for you listening, what does this all mean? Well, next time you see a dashboard with near real-time updates or get an alert about something unusual, think about the potential layers working behind the scenes. That journey from raw chaos to refined clarity and action doesn't just happen. It's often this elegant tiered system enabling the speed, the trust, and the intelligence we rely on. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Where else in your work, or even how you organize your own information, could applying a structured, layered approach like bronze, silver, gold bring more order, more trust, and ultimately, more insight? Something to ponder.